Hey, what's up? It's Jake from Nevis DevOps, and today I'm going to be going over Workout B for Kubernetes. As you can see, we have a mix of different activities here, and it's a compilation of things I learned from Tech World with Nana on YouTube, things I learned from Mumshad on Code Cloud, and the Kubernetes documentation. So all three of those things combined kind of made up these exercises that we're going to do. And the whole point of Workout B is to do everything imperatively. So this whole idea of doing things imperatively is because of speed. Normally I would do everything declaratively. I would put it in a manifest file and I would do a kubectl apply. However, for speed purposes, we want to be able to do things like expose services very, very quickly. And it's a lot faster for me to do an expose command than it is for me to dry run output a manifest file for a service and then edit the service and apply it. It's just going to be a waste of time. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to get really good at using imperative commands for this purpose. Okay, the cluster has been completed. I've configured kubectl to point to my GKE cluster and we're ready to get started. So on the left side, I have Workout B and all of the tasks, and on the right side, I have my terminal. I'm not timing myself today just because I want to make sure I go through and focus on doing everything correctly and getting these commands under my fingers because they're still a little foreign to me. So how do you get an IP address of a pod? So I run kubectl describe pod nginx. And here I can see the IP is 10.60.0.14. A faster way might be able to pipe grep IP and see what it is there. Create an nginx pod. Okay, well I already had to do that because I needed it for the first question, so we're going to move these out of order to make it make sense. Make it make sense. All right, cool. Generate an nginx pod manifest file without YAML, but don't create it. All right. I think we can get rid of these hints. And just put, but don't create it. So what we want is kubectl create pod. Actually, I could just do run nginx -- image equals nginx -- dry - run equals client out YAML into pod.yaml. Do an LL, and I have a pod.yaml file. You can look at it, and there it is. So that's our pod manifest file. Okay, that's done. Create a Redis pod with image Redis Alpine and labels tier equals dp. Okay, so we're going to go kubectl run Redis -- image equals Redis :alpine labels equals tier. This is kind of weird, equals dp, because I've got two equal signs. And there's our pod. Let's do a describe just to see it. Kubectl describe. Oh, no tab completion there. Pod Redis. All right. We see we have tier equals db as the label and Redis Alpine as the image. Looks good. Create a new pod called custom nginx using the nginx image and run it on container port 8080. Okay. Kubectl run custom -nginx -- image equals nginx -- port equals 8080. Okay, let's double check it. Kubectl describe pod custom nginx describe. All right, and then it says here port is 8080. That's looking good. Create an nginx deployment. Okay, well that's kind of easy. Kubectl create deployment nginx nginx -- image equals nginx. Okay, that's done. Generate an nginx deployment file and don't create it. I feel like this should go beforehand. There's not really a point to doing this one because we just created an nginx deployment. So I say we get rid of this one. Okay, I was just adding things as I found them. I didn't go through it yet. So that's what we're doing today. Generate an nginx deployments of 4 replicas. Okay, let's go kubectl create deployment nginx-scalar -- image equals nginx -- replicas equals 4. Is that what it said? Yeah, 4 replicas. Okay. Scale the nginx deployment to 8 replicas. So go kubectl scale deployment nginx-scalar -- replicas equals 8. All right, let's do a kubectl get deploy. Oops, why? Get deploy. Nginx-scalar now has 8, which is great. Okay, create a service named Redis service of type cluster IP to expose pod Redis on port 6379. Okay, kubectl create svc, and it's called Redis service. Default type is cluster IP, so I don't have to do anything there. I need to expose pod Redis. All right, so maybe I don't create Redis. I say kubectl expose pod Redis -- service equals this service, and then we'll say -- port equals 6379 unknown flag service. Okay, kubectl expose pod Redis. Maybe I just put the service after. Redis exposed error pod Redis service not pods. Oh, it's trying to do both. So how do I expose it on that specific service? Like, how is it exposed right now? Service is Redis. Let's go take a look at the answer. Create a service named Redis service of class expose pod Redis. So what am I missing? Expose pod Redis port. Name is Redis service. Okay, -- name equals Redis - service. Now I have a Redis service exposing that. That makes sense. So what did it make before? kubectl get svc. It literally made a service called Redis. Okay, kubectl delete svc Redis. Let's get rid of that. Okay, next, create a service named nginx of type node port to expose pod nginx's port 80 on port 3080 on the nodes. Okay, oops, didn't mean to do that. There we go. All right, let's see here. Create a deployment, kubectl create deployment. Oh, sorry, create a service, create svc to expose pod nginx's port. All right, so it's just the same thing as before. Expose nginx. We do have a pod named nginx, I believe, on port 80 -- port equals 80 -- node port equals 30,080. We need a name -- name equals, what did it say? It doesn't say. Nginx service, that's what we'll call it. Typo. Unknown flag node port. Camel case. Node. Maybe it's just node. No. Expose nginx on port 80. Maybe I do a mapping. kubectl nginx dash dash image equals nginx. Okay, the pod already exists. The server doesn't have a resource type nginx because it needs to expose the pod nginx. Invalid syntax. All right, we're getting somewhere. Port equals 80. Why isn't node port a flag? Let's go look at the answer. I don't know this one. Expose pod nginx type. Well, how the hell does it know what port to use? Maybe by default it just uses 30,000 and then adds the port. Okay, dash dash type equals node port. So it has to be, it's case sensitive. Okay, makes sense. All right, so that type is case sensitive. Let's check the service. kubectl describe svc nginx service. I want to see the port. Yeah, see, look, node port is totally not correct. So how would you set the specific port? Declaratively. Let's ask ChatGPT. kubectl expose pod nginx type equals node port port 80 target port equals 80 name nginx node dash port. So in this case, this is actually wrong. It's type node port, but it should also have a dash dash node dash port equals 30,080. This is the command that should exist. Let's see if that works. kubectl delete svc nginx dash service. Paste. You are a liar. Dash dash node dash port. That flag doesn't exist. All right, let's try creating the service. Let's go that route. That works. So instead of exposing the pod with node port, what we'll do is we'll create the service node port and then nginx, and it should grab the images with a nginx label, I believe, like app is nginx or something like that. The TCP is set to 80. The node port here is a flag that's valid, and we can set the flag. So let's describe this service and see what it looks like. So here's our node port service exposed on 3080, port of 80. Okay. So create service, node port is the service type, nginx is the name. So we can just do it that way. So let's copy this. And this is going to be the answer. Not this. Okay. That's actually shorter anyway. Cool. I learned something today. Create a deployment in the dev namespace with image Redis named Redis deploy that has 2 replicas. Okay. I feel like deployments, we already have been doing that. So let's grab this and put it up here with the deployments. So now we're going to create a namespace called dev. kubectl create ns dev. That's easy. Create a pod called HTTP using the HTTP Alpine image in the dev namespace. Next, create a service of type cluster IP by the same name. The target port for the service should be 80. Okay, so kubectl run nginx 2, because I already have one, dash dash image equals nginx alpine. Port is 80. Is that all it said? Create a pod called HTTP. I got it wrong. HTTP. Image is HTTP alpine. And the dev namespace. Okay, so we don't need that. You can do a dash n equals s equals dev. Okay. Create a service of type cluster IP. kubectl create SVC of the same name of port 80 and the namespace dev. Target port of the service should be 80. I feel like you could just kubectl expose pod httpd and namespace dev on port 80. And then just put name equals httpd. Yeah, that makes more sense to me. Let's see what I put down as the answer. kubectl expose pod httpd port. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. So that makes sense. Create a deployment in the dev namespace with image Redis named Redis deploy that has 2 replicas. Okay, so this is like we did before, but with a namespace flag. So kubectl create deployment Redis image equals Redis. Oh, we're gonna call it Redis deploy. Sorry, Redis dash deploy. Image is Redis dash dash replicas equals 2 dash ns dash n equals dev. Okay, that's it. So that was kind of rough, but we made it through. That's workout B. So now I've got a workout A that I can do on an A day, and I got a workout B that I can do on a B day, and I'll just go back and forth. I feel like this is going to be really good for me because these imperative commands are just not what I'm used to. I'm used to just editing a file and hitting apply and go. If you have any other recommendations, let me know. But right now, I'm pretty much just playing with pods, deployments, services, and namespaces. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know. But if not, my name is Jake with Nimbus DevOps, and I'm learning Kubernetes.